Greetings, and welcome to the 80 Level Roundtable podcast. In each episode, host Kirill Tokarev invites video game industry leaders to talk about the world of game development. No topic is off limits as long as it relates to video game development. New episodes are in the works, so remember to follow us or subscribe and share with someone you know will also enjoy the podcast.
Things off, I want to thank you for joining me today, and maybe we could start with a little introductions, so you could tell us a little bit about your team. What do you guys do? What project are you currently working on?
Okay, our name 1C Game Studios, Moscow, Russia. And we are known just for two projects, for three projects. First one was hardcore flight sim about World War I, called Rise of Flight. And this was a free-to-play flight sim. Still can be downloaded during Steam. And the second one was IL-2 Shturmovik, also hardcore flight sim, but about World War II. And this is the first point we are connected with 1C and start working together and change name from 1C Game Studios. And the third one, now Caliber, free-to-play tactical based shooter. And basically that's all. So right now we are working under two titles, Caliber and IL-2 Shturmovik.
So, I heard a lot about Caliber, and I think I was following a little bit of some of your YouTube recordings, Albert, when you were kind of doing these conversations with your HR, some of your community manager. It was very interesting to kind of get into the depths and understand how the game was built. So, what is Caliber? Is this, I understand that this is like a hardcore shooter. How is it different from all the other, because the competition is pretty tight there? How is it different from like Escape from Tarkov or maybe some of the other titles, more casual, not as hardcore? What are like the main differentiation points?
We have 4 different developers here, all of them working on Caliber, and I hope all of them have their own opinion about the difference, yes? And this is cool for us, I think. From my point of view, at first, nothing hardcore here. So this is very, I can call it softcore, because yes, it's challenging. And if you play PvP, of course, PvP based on what type of enemies, yes, what type of players playing against you. In PvE, it's much more easy and accessible, so no any hardcore. The only thing maybe I can call realistic, if we speak about how our game looking, yes, look and feel. Realistic, yes, the right type of armament, right type of equipment, all of this, yes. But gameplay, nothing hardcore. This is just fun in co-op mode with your friends in team of 4. So nothing about hardcore. And the last point from me, as you know, in a flight sim, in a hardcore flight sim, this is basically no room for creativity, because you're based on a history, and history something that's already been present, yes, and we have a lot of books, and this is why it's not easy to find place to do something new. This is why we want so much to create something opposite to hardcore game type. Yes, this is why we start working on Caliber, to have this creative freedom. I think that Andrey, Vladimir, and Nikita have their own opinions. So, guys,
well,
what's the difference?
I kindly agree with you about our main difference, that we're not so hardcore. We're somewhat more midcore. I don't know about softcore, but maybe midcore. And Our USPs, we are a very slow-paced shooter, not like Call of Duty or Battlefield, action-packed. We're more like tactical. And to be efficient player in our game, you must to cooperate with the rest of your team. So your solo skill matters, especially in PvP, but it matters not so much as in other shooters. So if you want to win, you got to play as a team. And I think it's one of our most strong USPs, actually.
Yeah, I'd say that's the most hardcore-ish thing that we have in the game. I mean, it being tactical. So things like time to kill, or ability to heal yourself are described in the game not as a extremely hardcore one. So your comparison to the escape from Tarkov sounded surprising because the game is completely different from it, and we never aimed at competing with the EFT, for instance. But it is tactical. It is very team-based, team-dependent, and such gameplay decisions like no response or pretty short time to kill, and of course being dependent on your team's behavior and the size of the team, which is 4x4. We have only 4 players in the team. Make it kind of hardcore-ish, but not in the ways of accessibility. It's a third person view. It cannot be as hardcore as the first person shooters.
So thank you for kind of describing what it is all about, because I thought it was a little bit more on the, get a headshot in the head and then wait for half an hour to your response. I have a question. So first of all, the game is based on your own tech, right? So it's the engine that you've developed, or is this some kind of technology that you've reused from 1S's previous projects, or is this your own development, or is this something that you bought or licensed? Can you talk a little bit about the technical background that's kind of like the core of the game?
Yeah, sure. As a lead developer, I can elaborate a little bit on that. Basically, to make a long story short, we use Unity game engine as basically a render pipeline and only a render pipeline. And what is here, in my opinion, is important to understand is that Unity actually provides developers with much more than that, but much more than just simply rendering kind of thing. So we did a lot of experimenting with this technology, and we were mostly, I would say, not as happy as we could with those technologies. We were left with the impression that these technologies are not that much ready for a kind of a serious AAA development, as we consider ourselves technology-wise. And what we decided to do is we understood that we need to just build a lot of things just simply from scratch. And that doesn't mean that there was like our first iteration. We have a lot of experience. Many of our engineers worked on a complex projects before, but as a whole team, this is our first project, and we basically have a lot of our own in-house solutions. And these solutions, the main goal here is to, like, as you may have understood already, is that we have a lot of creative ambitions in development of our project. And as a tech guy here, I need to support my team in this endeavor, and I need to give them opportunity to be as creative as possible and to make those creative iterations as cheap as possible. So you have to make a lot of iterations. And for instance, after 1 month of development, our players have a new update, and they just don't know how many iterations we made. Maybe it was just a few iterations, and then the quality of content will be low, basically because we understand that there is no surprises. We need to make a lot of iterations to make something good. You need to fine refinements of these kind of things, and this is why we almost all of our tech is in-house solution. We use plain C# on our server side, so this also makes hosting kind of thing much cheaper for us.
Vladimir, so you were kind of started with Unity, but then you developed a lot of your own custom tech, and then kind of the game is basically like your own. So in terms of technology, I mean, obviously the reasoning that you gave behind it makes sense because you need to have more creative control, and plus this is your game, plus this is an online game, so there's a lot of back and forth between the client and server, and you have to develop all that. But Unity also has a very large library of different like SDKs and all the other like plugins, APIs, and stuff that you can download directly from Unity Asset Store or from Unity or from their forums and the community and so on. My question is, when you were developing a lot of your own solutions, is this because you haven't found anything available that kind of fit your needs? Or is this more because you weren't really looking and you were just, your strategy was to kind of build everything yourself to reuse maybe and so on?
Well, that's first of all, that is actually a very good question, and we did a lot of research into what kind of solutions already exist, because there is such a problem in immature teams where people just are unable to deep dive into some technology, and they're just were much happier developing their own kind of thing, and that's kind of sad story usually, because the quality of this solution will not be that good. But we are in my opinion, are on another other side of this kind of equation. We deeply understand what our requirements for our business are, and we understand that those already made solutions are not that good. For instance, there may be some licensing problems, or the quality of the code may be not as good. We see that like getting some plugin and installing it into our project greatly jeopardizes the quality of our project and stability of our project. And so basically, once you decide what will it cost for me to develop a in-game browser, for instance, you realize that you're not going to build a browser from scratch. There are already nice solutions, but you still need to write some sort of a mediumware between C++ code and industry based solution and your own kind of project. So we did a lot of research basically, but we were still very unhappy with the quality. And I have an opinion about why it goes like this, why my world is going in this direction. But I think it should be left out of the scope of this conversation.
I have a couple more words about this. Yes, from producer side, yes, I also can say yes, this is part of the strategy, because it's based on your goals, yes, you want to accomplish. And I try to build studio. Yes, studio, it's a bigger thing than just project or just couple of projects. Yes, and this is why I prefer to provide time for guys, and they can create something that can be understandable. Yes, after month or year, and it's much more easy to onboard new people in studio, because as guys mentioned, this project and team for this project building from scratch, like at the beginning we have just 5 developers for first prototype, and right now we have 80. Yes, so everyone can be found on market and onboarding. And then we are onboarding programmer. It's much easier. Then he can work with something clear, understandable, readable for ourselves. And I hope that all of this investment we're doing now can be our big success in future.
Sorry, I was on mute. So, they say if it's not a real online conversation unless someone says you're on mute. So now we are like talking. So, I actually heard another. That's like a very interesting topic because if you go online and you look on anything that the Unity says, like when they're presenting anything and so on, they are usually saying it's all about like democratization of the development, making sure that to build games it becomes easier and the tools are more readily available. I actually talk with a lot of different developers and they have different opinions, and some of them have opinion exactly like yours. When even though there are solutions available. So first of all, the quality is not there, or rather, not even the quality, but how it fits into whatever you're building, right? Because every project is a little bit different, and you have like different goals, different monetization, visuals, graphics, that kind of stuff. And another thing they often pops up, and I want to kind of hear what do you think about it, is the solutions that are available on the market and are created by someone. Um, they're not they're not updated as often as you would like them to be updated, because you might get stuck with some solution that you feel is good and it feels like anything that you need to do, like for making sure that the game works online, and then it's not being updated, so you kind of stuck with it, and then you kind of at the same time you still need to do your own development, you still need to update it yourself, because whenever they release it later down the road, you might be already ways ahead, and you just you can't use it, and that's one of the reasons. What do you think about it?
That's actually, in my opinion, is very good point, and I can even tell you some stories about like how we are forced to mitigate this problem. For instance, I mean, I'm sorry if I might deep dive a little bit into technical details, but since a C# is even though it's a static language, but still you can use all crazy kind of reflection things to get into guts of the code and to get inside the guts of the dynamic library that you are accessing. We are still able to take some libraries, just as you said, that are not longer being developed and unupdated, and we're still like rewiring the insides of the library to work as we want it to work, and this is kind of a big problem. So yes, and in my opinion, the main issue here is that the game development is business, but now like developing tools for development is also a business, and this is the crazy problem, because this is where marketing comes in, and this whole story about all these like DLLs and plug and play, and you just hit a couple buttons and here you have it, this new game, new mechanic. This is actually becomes not a story of a low-level development of the game. It becomes a story of marketing, and that is basically these two huge titans, such as Unity and Unreal, are just fighting between each other. And the unfortunate thing is that developers here, software engineers, those who deliver real value to our end customer, which is player, right? We become just a material. We're just working material here, and this is kind of an unfortunate state of affairs currently. But this is something that you have to deal with, and that is why, for instance, when you see even visually amazing games, such as, for instance, Alien Isolation, you just take this game and you see, wow, this visually it just looks stunning. But when you start to realize what kind of technologies they use, you see that it's just C++, and that's it. And this is because you're unable to tailor your engine so tightly to your product requirements, and that is big issue here.
But I'm very thankful for Unity. 2 points. First point, if you start to build your team, you of course want someone to teach people basics, and this is their Unity are very good. They do a lot of amazing job in Russia, if we're speaking about Russia. So for now, I can say on market, I need a Unity developer. This means he already known element things like UI, how things working, how to work with this part of the engine. And the second point, very close to the first one, Unity from the box, amazing educational product, I think. So for now, this is not just a closed super hype club. We're doing games as it was like 10 years ago. So right now, everybody can try. And maybe if anyone interesting, they can say, I want to do career in game development, and welcome, of course, with your basics, you can be onboarding much faster than in previous years.
Thank you, Albert, and thank you, Vladimir. Vladimir, I also have last one question about this, and then we'll move more into the business side, and then you guys can pitch in more. So you mentioned that you did a lot of research when you were kind of looking at the existing solutions and looking around. Would you recommend some way to approach it? How do you research these things? Do you just go on like Unity Asset Store and just have a look at whatever is available there and just read the comments, or do you go to GitHub, or do you go just to some forums, or you ask around in your own circle? Because I know like internal references are also super important in the development community, and some friends might be using this and you might be interested in. How do you kind of look for these little pieces that might become useful for you?
Well, first of all, everything you mentioned is true, and you can use that. But also, one of the things that were not mentioned is that Unity has a package manager and basically a way of installing new things. So you have basically two sources for plugins in Unity, and you have your Unity Asset Store, but also you have package manager. And what is cool about package manager is that once this package is installed, you can basically browse into this folder and you can see the actual code that Unity wrote, and and that is great source for like inspiration and to understanding where things are going. Because when you are researching through, for instance, YouTube videos, you see this great marketing facade. You have these great visuals. You have some nice guy telling you about how this technology is great and good, and how it's easy, and how it's 1 or 2 clicks away from success, whatever. But still, once you start to deep dive into the code, and you see some left out to-dos, or some crazy entanglement, crazy coupling of classes, once you see that cohesion is very low in the code, and you see that is basically big mess. And as a technical person, as someone who is responsible for quality of your and stability of your product, you start thinking and questioning yourself whether I will be able to be whether I'm going to be responsible in my team, the only actually person who is responsible for adding this code into our code base. And usually our answer is no. And the only reason is that we usually add some code into our code base is something that Alberto's already mentioned, is that we see that some people in the market are already familiar with the exact technology, with this very plugin, for instance, Unity Timeline for creating cutscenes. People are already familiar how to use that. So we would rather take this technology, and we still have some crazy fixes inside this technology, but we're still going to do down this path rather than just creating our own in-house solution and teach people from scratch.
And a lot of difference about what stage your project for now. Yes, then the starting this project, we don't understand what we need to do. So we need a lot of prototypes, like every couple of months. And some of these prototypes dramatically different from the previous one. And this is the place the market, or I mean Unity asset market, and all things take place because they can provide you much more faster speed, yes, for development. And after this creative process, then you realize and understand what you really want to do, how much players you plan to have in a team, how much players you need in one room on server, and a lot of different like things. Yes, this is a place there you can find elements you can read on for better, like better performance or better graphics.
Yeah, thank you guys. I think this is a very good. I mean, I think it's kind of obvious, but it's obvious for like experienced developers who already launched a couple of titles because I really like Vladimir's. Vladimir is like a true tech guy. He's like you go on YouTube and they feed you a lot of rubbish. Although it looks good, it might not always work for whatever you're trying to achieve. And I kind of agree with that. So let us switch gears a little bit and go more into. I want to talk a little bit more about monetization mechanics and how do you actually sell this game. I think it's super important in a community. Not a lot of people understand that there's actually math, not the code, but math like a Excel sheet behind the economics of the game and how you want to sell it and how you want to acquire users and so on. So like in a very general question. So when you kind of started development and you understood that this is going to be like a free to play online title, what were the main monetization mechanics that were like at the core of what you were building? How did you decide to integrate those mechanics and marrying them with the actual gameplay so they kind of work together well?
Well, I wasn't there from the start, but as far as I reckon, basic monetization mechanics were all about collecting operators, our game characters. So there were no pay to win, and there's still no pay to win actually. All monetization was all about you buying your operator, you progressing with this operator through its experience levels, and then you buy another one, and then you buy another one, and progress with another one, etc., etc. But lately, around maybe a year ago, last winter actually, we've relaunched our game with some new monetization features. We already had by this moment some in-game events like Battle Pass, like in-game marathons, which featured some additional monetization mechanics like proxy currencies, etc., etc. So, and lately, last winter, we actually added some additional proxy currencies into the operator progression. So before that, you needed just two things to progress your operator. You needed game experience, so you have to play with this operator in our game. And you needed soft currency, which you could also obtain by playing our game, so for every played match. But last winter, we added additional proxy currencies. Now, there are slightly more resources that you will need to progress with the operator, and you will have to earn them also by playing the game, but they're not obtained that easily like soft currency, of course. And there was a lot of randomness in this game system, and of course players were not very happy about it. So we not only slow down the progression of the rater by introducing new currencies and new requirements for progression, but we also added this randomness. And actually, speaking of math, it's pretty honest. It's completely honest game system. From the point of view of clean mathematics. But the thing is, players are not thinking about like that. So you can't say to a player, guys, this is a clean, pure math. There no under table game. So, but they won't believe you. They always will think that you as a developer had something tuned up, that they won't have the resources they really need. So it's like a lot of conspiracy theories among our community, actually, and it's all false. Actually, it's all clean math. It's um, not very good game design decision, because good randomness, it's actually calculated randomness, right? So you have to play by the player. You will have to actually help him to get what he needs, to get what he wants. But honest math won't do that. Honest math is honest math. That's because right now we're working on slight rework of this system. We're decreasing the randomness in progressing with those additional materials, and we will release this rework very soon at the end of the August. So basically, returning to our list of monetization mechanics, we have in-game events. We still have operators that you can buy with soft currency or hard currency, and we still a lot of visual customization, just like animations, skin sets, camouflages, etc., etc. And that's pretty it. So progression, visualization, new operators, in-game events. Our four pillars of game design monetization.
Then you're doing free to play. You need to understand that it's good if like 7% or 10% or 5% from all your audience buying something. Yes, this is very important because a lot of people think that a free to play is some kind of new oil, like you dig in a hole and after this you just only need to find new box for money. Of course not. And a lot of, for now we have a lot of different ideas how to monetize free to play. Yes, pay to win, very obvious thing if we speak about Asia models. Yes, if you want more, you want a best gun or best armor, you just pay. It's okay. But it's not okay for Western people. Yes, because everybody want a fair play. So our idea from beginning was very simple: time or money. If you have time, like you're a student, yes, you have a lot of time. Usually you don't have money because you're a student. So you can try to collect what you want from the game, investing a lot of time. It's okay. In the second hand, we have like people like me, like 42 years old. Of course, I don't have time because I have job, yes, and family. So, but I have money. So this is the second way how I can obtain something from the game. And this balance between time and money, for us, essential idea in our monetization. And it's okay. I believe in this model. So I believe that you can create a free-to-play model, but fair for players and developers, of course.
Guys, I have like two questions in one, because then we're kind of running out of time. I still have a lot to that's interesting to learn. When you're thinking about these mechanics and when you're looking at different ways how you can monetize your users, as you said, like those 7% who are actually willing to pay, how do you find these mechanics? Do you look at the available games on the market? Do you base this on your previous experience with other games? Or like where do you get this information that, for example, and maybe you can elaborate a little bit on this, why do battle passes work? Why do they make sense in this kind of project? Like how do you make this? Do you do some tests? Do you read some magazines? I don't know, like where do you get this information that you understand that it works?
Well, actually, it's a little bit of everything. So it's a previous experience. There are some best practices on the market. So if you're a game designer, you know how to do things and earn money. With some mechanics, you know how they work in general, and you can apply this exact mechanic in your game, and you can then watch your statistics, watch your KPIs, and understand is this mechanic doing well or not. And later you can adjust or tune this mechanic to make it work better, actually. So the battle pass is a pretty common thing. Right now, like almost every game have a battle pass. So it's pretty common mechanic. All players are familiar with it. All players know how to interact with this, so it's not a big problem.
Nikita, sorry to interrupt. Why is it beneficial for the developer? Because we're kind of trying to educate the audience. So can you explain like why are battle passes great for your bottom line? Like when you're like you're building a business, not just like I don't.
It's pretty simple way to sell the content for your players. So players are already familiar with that. They'll more likely to buy it from you. So it's like not I'm coming to the new game. They have a very complex event that involves a lot of in-game mechanics, and you're like, oh my god, there's like 20 in-game currencies. I have no idea about what's going on. And on the other hand, you have a battle pass. It's pretty common mechanic. It may uh, vary from game to game, but the basic simple is always the same. So just play the game, you invest your time in the game, you receive some content in reward. And if you didn't pay money, you receive this content less in value and maybe more slower. And if you paid for the premium battle pass, you will receive a lot more content. Maybe you'll get it faster. So why do developers love it? Because it's simple. You won't have to come up with some crazy idea. You won't have to explain this idea to the players. So you say, hey guy, here we have battle pass. You can play it, you can buy it, and every player on this planet will likely, okay, I know what is it. I know, do I want to pay in this game for battle pass or I don't? There is no complexity in describing what's it all about. Every player knows it. It needs no additional marketing or some explanation.
90% we're using best practice, and on 10% you need some kind of invention, some kind of to be innovative. But if you try to be innovative in 100%, you need to have budget to explain this. This is the problem for newcomers, for new developers. They trying to find something amazing you never done before, and nobody understand that you basically need also to educate everybody.
Yeah.
Basically. So like 90 on 10, I think.
So how do you thank you for this explanation, and I totally agree with you that you don't need to reinvent the wheel all the time. Sometimes you can use whatever is available and be successful with it. So how do you actually sell the game? So, and that's a very important question for the audience, because if you speak with most of the developers who are coming online or building the title, even if they're building online titles, in the majority of cases, they go on a platform. They go on Steam, or they go to Epic Online, Epic Store, or PlayStation, and so on and so forth. So, how do you approach this? Do you build your own platform? Do you have your own launcher? How do you work with your store? I know it's on the web. That's also an important question. And why do you make this decision? Like, explain the reasoning. Why do you decide to go this way and not the other way, and why? That's super important for just for people to understand.
Andrey?
Well, yeah, we are we're actually independent in those business terms. And like you said, we do have our own launcher for the game, and there's only one title in it. It's Caliber, obviously. And there's the playcaliber.com, the website, which also serves as the landing and a place where you can contact the customer support, and where the store is located. So we're not using any someone's platform. We're on our own, and I think the best answer why we chose that way is for Albert to say. But anyway, and I speak for myself and for the colleagues whose opinion I know, we're glad about it. I mean, we've had some experience with the Wargaming, who's been our publisher for a year and a half, and then we split. And as far as I know, nobody's regretting it. It gave us much more challenges, much more things to learn and to do for the first time, and to then fix and learn and do once again. But it turns out to be a great feeling to be an indie, also because it's given some experiences that you might have never gotten any other way.
The basic answer, because we want all money from our users, because all of this money we want to reinvest to create something new. Yes, this is how the service game works. Every 2 months, you need to surprise your audience with anything. Yes, maybe new content, new game mechanics. So this is not like we build game, put it on the store, and waiting forever, like the long tail of for all sales. Yeah, after this 25%, 75%, we believe ourselves a little bit more maybe than other developers. So we believe that in the world we have our own audience. Yes, okay, and this is need to understand. It's much more hard to find it, of course, because you cannot use all of these millions and millions accounts, which can be used if you work with platform. But what is platform really? This is just the first page. Yes, the same as a shell on a store. If you can find way how to put your project on this shelf on the first page, okay, maybe you have chance to success. And we have like thousands games publishing every day, so this is noisy, like crowdy ocean. And then you trying to do this for yourself, it's harder, but it's much more loyal for you, your players. Yes, this is like on the TV time. This is a separate button. This is your channel. This is why it's so important. And as Andrey says, very important to be faster. on this market. You need to be fast. So no any obstacles. You don't need to speak a lot with a platform, what you can do or what you can't do. You can do whatever you want to find your way for success. But as I need to say, it's much more. It's much more. You need more money for this, basically, because you need to do your marketing by yourself. So you need to think about budget from day one, what you want to do and how you can do. So maybe
Uh,
for small team, I can say platform, the only option or best option. But if you understand what you want, maybe you can find your own way.
Albert, you basically kind of keyed in the next question that I had. So, how do you reach to your audience? How do you market the game? What are like the channels that you are using? And how do you make how do you make them efficient? I think that's one of the big questions. And what are those channels that you feel like work best for you, like for your game?
If you find somebody who can answer these questions, so please provide my business card because I want this guy in my team. So basically, nobody knows. A lot of rumors, a lot of people doing books about this, films about this. My personal opinion, nobody knows because the world changed rapidly every like minute. And you can do something strange on the internet, and you need to be very strange, yes, to grab some attention, yes. So nobody knows. Every year new developer find a huge success, and after this say how they do this, but before this nobody knows. And for us, we just starting this process, because at the beginning we just always doing MVP, yes, minimum viable product. And this is my suggest what you need to do. So never wait for your game to be super amazing. Yes. Um, Immediately after you understand that you have something players can play and can buy something from you, you need to open access. Maybe through criticism, maybe through anything, but this is essential idea, I think, for now. So you need to open access and open payments as soon as possible. And this is one thing. The second thing, it's hard in a modern world. It's hard because everything great critics in internet. So do not afraid. It's okay for all new titles to be criticized at the beginning. You just need time. So you need to say, okay, guys, I understand you don't believe me, but I'm developer. I want to do this game. And after maybe month or 2 or 3, everybody start to believe you, because every month you do an update, you're working with your bugs, you're working with feedback, you're doing something. This is how core audience build. And this is the most important thing, to build a core audience. So how, I don't know, because we just for now starting this process, and
So,
we are very lucky guys, because most of the audience we asking to try alphas and betas still playing game. This is our core community. um,
yeah, Albert. So, alphas, betas, how do you invite users there? How do you get to them? Do you just market on social media? I know that you were like on big events, you had these arenas when you showed the caliber to titles when you were working with Wargaming, or maybe before that, I don't really remember. So in order to attract this first core customers, do you need to work with a publisher, or do you just go on Google, invest some money there, and just promote your landing page, and that's enough? Or do a streamer thing, or do something else? Like, what are like the things that you tried in the beginning?
Ask me next year. because to be honest, most of the marketing steps was done by Wargaming, yes, at the first year. So I just don't have enough experience to be like wise all. Uh, we don't know. We already try a lot of things, but we still preparing for like huge marketing push or whatever we want to call it. So for now, it's not our experience. It's a Wargaming experience. But maybe Andrey or Nikita want to put something.
No, well, I totally agree with your prognosis about next year's talk about how we are going to promote the game, because what has been done was the Wargaming's job, and I'm not sure we have all the 100% information about what exactly they did and how they spent the publishing money. I don't know, but we're looking forward to doing it on our own with resources that we have, with the marketing management and community managers and our marketing analysts. We'll see what we can do.
Try to be profitable. That's all. That's all. That's all you need. You need to understand.
No, I mean, I think you guys did an amazing job, and I hope you all the best. I wish you all the best. I hope everything's going to be fine. When you do your marketing, when you do achieve success, I suggest we can do like a second podcast and kind of talk about that experience, because I think it's a whole different thing. Like developing a game and marketing a game, those are like very different elements to it, but they're both necessary in order to achieve success. But anyway, I want to thank you for sharing your time. I know it's Friday evening where you are, so thank you for sharing that piece of your well-deserved Friday evening with me. And I wish you all the best, and I hope the game succeeds. And it already looks great. So we'll leave the links to the website so anyone can have a look, go and enjoy it. And if you guys feel like you want to share any of your links, maybe you have a careers page, Albert, where you want to attract new people, we would be very happy to share it on our service. So maybe you will find some interesting candidates that way. But anyway, overall, thank you so much for your time, and hope we'll talk again sometime soon.
Yeah, sure. Thank you for invitation, of course.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for having us. Yeah, see ya.
Bye-bye. Play good
Thank you very
games,
much.
guys.
Goodbye.
Thanks for enjoying another episode of the 80 Level Roundtable podcast. Check out upcoming episodes on the 80 Level website at 80.lv. Join our career site at 80.lv/RFP. And share our podcast with friends and on your social networks.